Talk to your doctor.
There you go.
Talk to
But
your
you know who? Yes,
Yeah.
and you know who you should. Which doctor I don't think you should talk to is Dr. Fauci.
Fauci.
You don't
We got
think
this
so?
story.
Hold
We got this
on.
story
What?
from. We got this
That's
story.
Paul,
Paul, if you got his number,
We
say
got
hi.
the story.
He's a nice guy.
We got the story from Reuters. U.S. plans to give extra COVID-19 shots to at-risk Americans, Fauci says. That is the third shot for people who are in at-risk groups. If you are immunocompromised, people like cancer survivors, those who are HIV positive, they are saying that they are trying to rush through approval for your third shot. Now, over in Israel, we have this from Voice of America. After another COVID spike, Israel launches third vaccine dose. They say Israel has become the first country to distribute a third dose of the COVID vaccine, offering the extra jab to anyone over 60. Israeli health experts say the effectiveness of the current vaccine declines with time, and the third shot will serve as a booster. The move comes as virus rates in Israel are on the increase. Now, there's this crazy viral video, which they say is a report from Israel's Channel 13, where they say in this Twitter, which I've not confirmed the translation, that the hospitalization rates are overwhelmingly those who have been vaccinated. And Israel is saying we are not finding this to be effective. Now, I don't know if that's true.
Yeah, well, and also we have to know what percentage of the population is vaccinated too, because if an overwhelming majority of the population is vaccinated and an overwhelming majority are in the hospital and it's proportional, then we could say, well, it doesn't seem to be working in this instance. But if a majority are in the hospitals, whereas an overwhelming majority is vaccinated, then it seems it would be working to some extent, or you could make that argument. So we don't really know.
They say an Israeli study showed effectiveness of the COVID vaccine declined from 95% to 80%.
Oh, wow.
Or even less against the Delta variant. Wow. Neither the U.S. nor the EU has yet recommended a third shot, but most Israeli doctors say they do not believe it will do any harm. Now, we had a story we pulled up the other day from Timcast.com that shows, I think it was like Pfizer and AstraZeneca to be like 92 and 96% effective against the Delta variant. Mm-hmm. So all I can do is tell you this. Talk to your doctor. Because I don't, I know for those on the live show, like right now, it's more repetitive, but in the segments, like, so we have to say it. Because I don't know what this means. I really, really don't. Israel is making a lot of claims that a lot of people in the U.S. are shocked to hear.
Very interesting.
And don't know if they want to believe, to be completely honest, that what Israel is saying about the effectiveness. So here's why I bring this up. Not only is that happening, but the World Health Organization is calling for a temporary moratorium on vaccine booster shots because they want to prioritize global distribution of the vaccine to poorer nations.
Interesting.
Okay, so I have no idea. I can tell you this. It sounds like humans run around like these organizations are like chickens with their head cut off. Mm-hmm. Is that true, though? Do you cut a chicken's head off, it runs around?
Yes.
I'm not sure. I mean, you're the one with chickens, Tim.
I'm not
cutting their heads off?
Yeah. No.
He just doesn't want to admit it on stream because, Pete is going to get it.
That's true. My family raised
he'll get
chickens.
canceled. Really?
Yeah, it's true, though. Don't get canceled. My family raised chickens, and yes, this is the thing that actually happens.
They run around, their heads are cut off?
Yeah,
I figured.
Yeah,
wow.
I never questioned that.
No, of course not.
I just want
Nor
to say.
should you.
I'm curious. I am curious what percentage of the population in Israel is vaccinated. What percentage of new cases did they say were vaccinated people?
Well, there's this tweet, and I don't
Okay.
speak Hebrew, so I can't really confirm that anyway. But people are claiming that there's a doctor who says it's like the overwhelming majority of the COVID patients in the hospitals have been vaccinated. And
That is fascinating, yeah.
But I can't confirm any of that stuff.
Yeah.
All I know is that Fauci is rushing out a third shot here in America for people who are immunocompromised. The eviction moratorium was a new one was illegally put in place, and the unemployment checks are going out. So it smells like a lockdown. I guess they say if it walks like a lockdown, acts like a lockdown, and sounds like a lockdown, then it's probably a lockdown, right?
Lockdown.
Yeah, exactly. I'm hearing from Reuters, their numbers say that the number of doses in Israel administered has been 11 million. And so if that's at 2 doses per person, that's 63.2% of the country being vaccinated.
It's a little bit higher than the U.S. I think.
bad, yeah.
I think the U.S.'s rate was 49% or something like that.
The United States' rate of vaccinations? Well, I
Yeah.
have some data here saying that they asked adults, and they found that 7 in 10 adults said they have already gotten it or are getting it as soon as possible. So something like 67% have already gotten it, and
Australia
3 more percent say they're going to get it as soon as possible.
Australia's like 18%.
Why is
Have
that?
gotten vaccinated?
Yeah,
I think they just don't trust their government.
I guess.
I don't know. It could also Australian is not as. I think Australia's population is much more spread out.
I think maybe if your government is not treating you very well, then you're probably not going to be too happy. Okay, no, it's higher right now.
Okay.
Oh, no. Yeah, fully vaccinated, 16%.
Whoa.
Wow, that's low.
Yikes.
Wow.
Well,
At least one dose is 34.2%
Wow.
That's so bad.
Where?
in Australia.
So that's of the population?
Yeah, of the population, 16.3% are fully vaccinated.
Wow, that's really, really low.
It's abysmal. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is that? That's like the most heavily cracked down country on earth
That's
right now.
probably why.
It could be because it's heavily cracked down upon. I also think it's the population density. It is really it's something
Sparsely
like
populated?
Yeah, sparsely populated. So the numbers I have here are
Bro, they got
there's 3
cities.
people per squared kilometer, and in the United States, the average population density is 94 people.
Yeah, but they've got
Wow.
cities, dude.
No, I'm not saying they don't, but I think that more of their population lives in rural areas.
What's
I
the
could be wrong
population
about
of
that, but I
Australia?
think it's tough
Are
to
you-
say. It's actually tough to say based on average numbers, but I think their population is more spread out than ours is.
Their population is what, like 25 million or something?
It's not many. Yeah.
So we have 10 times.
Yeah.
So they have big cities, you know.
It's
And
like
and
three
they've
big ones,
got
yeah.
military deployed to enforce the lockdowns.
Yeah, no, I'm not
Yeah.
saying they don't have big cities, but I'm saying overall they're less densely populated, which means there are more people who live further away from other people.
But
who
I don't think that's
contact
true.
them
That's what I'm
often.
saying.
You don't think
I'm
Australia's average population is less dense than the
I'm
United
saying
States?
It is.
Australia,
It's like 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Australia is as big as the U.S. with a tenth of the population. So it's not that they're living
Oh,
further
okay, I
away
get what
from
you're
each
saying. I
other.
get what you're saying. Okay.
It's that there's a big open
Yeah.
outback
That's fair.
of desert
Yeah.
nothing in the middle of the continent.
Okay, I get what you're saying.
What was U.S. population density? 20? How many people?
370 million? In
No,
the US?
density.
Oh, the
94.
population density. 94 people per square
And
mile.
Australia was like 9? Is that
Oh,
what you said?
actually,
3?
Australia is, but
3?
Australia. The United States is, but the United States' information I just gave you is miles. So if you look in kilometers, it's 36 people per kilometer squared, whereas in Australia
so
it's 3 people.
10 times the population.
Yeah,
10
no, that
times the
makes sense.
density.
That makes sense.
Very
That makes sense.
similar.
Yeah,
Similar
So
numbers.
why is the
Yeah.
vaccine rate in Australia 16%? Did you pull up the vaccination rate for the U.S.? Actually, I could
The
probably.
well, I had
could probably do it
I'm
right
looking.
here.
I had some numbers pulled up from earlier, and it said again about 70% of people have already gotten it or are getting it as soon as possible.
Wow.
Oh,
Wow.
doing
No.
way better than they are.
It's 50.4% of people in the United States are fully vaccinated.
Wow.
165 million
Look at
people.
us go.
At least one dose is 58.7%. Australia, 16.3%. I think when you crack down,
think
when
that's
you
it?
start arresting people for not wearing masks and you deploy military, people are not going to trust
Yeah,
you.
it would make me
I
less
will-
likely.
I'm
Yeah.
also curious what Australia is like culturally, too. I wonder if they're as divided as the United States is, or if there's a more unified front in terms of the skepticism that they have towards government mandates.
Not sure.
Well, authoritarianism. This is why it doesn't work, because you lose the faith and the confidence of the people. And so we were having this conversation. I think it was I don't know if it was with Vosh and Charlie in the bonus segment or something about like authoritarianism is effective in that you can mandate things really, really quickly. And that's technically true. The problem is it derails itself. It falls apart because if you don't have confidence of the people, the system can't be supported. The government is an imaginary construct of people's confidence. Like, why is a dollar valuable? If you showed a dollar to an alien, they'd be like, I don't need this. What am I going to do with it? Now, gold, they might understand, like, a conductor, I can do something with this. Money, they're going to be like, sure, I don't know, what you like this
They
stuff?
might think it's a really cool picture.
Yeah, like, oh, it's a picture, and they put it on the wall and they tape
exactly.
it.
There's
But
different kinds
it's not functional.
of authoritarianism too. There's the authority of one man, which is like totalitarian, dictatorship, and then there's the authority of a constitution, like a written document, and that's also a form of authoritarianism.
No, it isn't.
It's really not, but it is a form of authority. So they basically
not all authority is authoritarian.
That's right.
The founding fathers-
Authoritarianism is generally used as a
Ian, the
pejorative.
founding fathers-
I would like to explain to you what authority is.
go for it.
When a police officer in New York says, you can't stand there, that's a frozen zone, which is what they do, that is authoritarianism. That is them just arbitrarily deciding, I can do this. You want to know what real authority is? Seamus drops to the ground, and there's blood spraying everywhere, and a doctor looks you in the eye and says, put your hands on his neck right now. What would you say?
I
Absolutely.
would just do it. Yeah.
Exactly. If you were out on the street and you saw somebody hurt and there was a guy and he's like, I'm a doctor, you come here now, put your hands here.
Yeah.
You would not think twice.
Exactly.
Because you know that's what real authority is. But if there was some crackpot guy in a rickshaw and he had people pulling him and he was like, you there, come here and kneel so I can walk on your back and leave my rickshaw, you'd be like, get out of here, that's insane. And then if he threatened you with a weapon to make you do it, authoritarian.
I think that the reason I brought up the founding fathers again is because they established 2 decades of massive authoritarianism in order to install a constitution that they could step back from and release their authority.
What do you mean by
ultimately.
that?
Like, they were like, George Washington had ultimate authority over the land. They would have made him king. He could have become a monarch. And big.
That doesn't mean authoritarianism, though.
But that they functioned authoritatively to build the Constitution, to seize the Washington was getting his troops vaccinated against their will, like pure on martial law authoritarian crackdown to win the Revolutionary War.
But that's war.
And
That's
then
wartime,
instead of one guy maintaining authoritarianism, being like, and now this is legal, but now it's not, and now that's the new thing. We just built a set of laws that could take over for us.
The fact that they gave up power and enacted a constitution shows it was never authoritarian. It was just war.
I think you can use authoritarianism for good. They seem to have.
But I don't think it was authoritarianism. I don't think that falls in line with it. It was, hey, we want freedom. Oh no, they're attacking us. Quick, everyone come together. Here's what we have to do to survive. Like, if the house started burning down and I grabbed you and dragged you out of the house, is that authoritarianism?
Technically.
No, come on.
No,
man.
I mean, if it hit the fan and you had to take control
Ian's
of everything.
passed out from smoke inhalation, but he hasn't chosen to leave, so
I'm
leave
not
him
an
here.
authoritarian. I'm leaving him in the
right.
building. Well, it's just the
It's
word.
Ian's freedom to sleep during the
It's true.
fire.
I mean, it's interesting. So the word authority and the word author come from the same place, which is creator. Someone creates something, they have authority over it. Or if they have they've delegated the authority over their creation to another person, then that person has authority over it. And of course, it comes ultimately from God creating the universe, delegating authority to specific civil authorities. But a belief in authority is not the same as a belief that unbridled authoritarianism is acceptable.
Yeah. When you think of unbridled authoritarianism, do you think of it as like dictatorial?
Yeah, so I would say usurpation. Anytime an authority structure absorbs the role of a smaller, more vulnerable authority structure when it doesn't have to do so, I would call that authoritarianism. So basically anytime subsidiarity is violated. So I believe that there are all sorts of authority structures across humanity. So you have the family structure, which is an authority structure. You have the father at the head of the household. And then you also have local governments, state governments, a national government. And if one higher authority, quote unquote higher authority in that hierarchy comes down and takes a role which is proper to one of the lower authorities, so for example, if the state starts to interfere with family life in ways that are proper to a father, I believe that's authoritarianism, because somebody is taking the rightful authority away from one and giving authority which is not due to another to them.
What's interesting is
I
you
think
said
I
when
can-
they have to, only if they don't have to. And you got to define what
look-
does that mean if someone feels like they have to step in and take the authority? Like what?
I can explain
Would a
to you-
virus make someone think that?
I can explain to authoritarianism and libertarianism somewhat with a great way. So the Democrats right now believe the economy is going good. Why? Because the authority told them. And they have strict adherence to the authority, which says this is what you must do. They say, okay, the economy is good. Yes, sir. Trump supporters were told by Trump to get the vaccine, and they said, no. That's not authoritarianism.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, we live in the kind of a self-authored society. The Constitution is sort of supposedly self-authored by us, we the people.
We're a freedom-loving people,
But
we are losing that
But
freedom.
what interests me is that they seized authoritarian dictatorship for a short period of time in order to create a self-authored society.
It's war.
And also, it's this weird thing. I don't even...
And plus, people could have just fled, I guess. They've been cowards, and I don't
Back
know.
to England, yeah.
It was a lot harder back then, I suppose. But they were loyalists. They were people who said no to the revolution.
That made me think of if we hadn't had, was it South Carolina, the slave states, if they hadn't joined us, not only would they just not have been in there fighting, they would have been all loyalists.
You know what would have been really funny, though, is that they would have had to abolish slavery sooner if they remained with the crown. But this is really interesting, actually, in that regard, because I talked about this Because a lot of people have said if America never declared independence, slavery would have ended 20 years earlier. And I'm like, I'm not sure that's true.
That's true at all.
Imagine the Crown of Britain said we're mandating in 1833 the end of slavery. The southern states would have declared independence.
But the whole British ending slavery thing is kind of a fallacy because they did what was called enclosure. I was just watching a thing on Kings and General's YouTube channel about this yesterday. Enclosure is basically where the lords of the land seized the land from all the civilians. 99.98% of British land is owned by like 0.01% of the population.
Well,
since like the 1600s, since they started enclosure.
Well, and also if the United States was still under British rule, the economic and political incentives would be entirely different from the Crown from what they were when England wasn't overseeing the United States and decided to end slavery. So I don't think you could say that if we stayed with the Crown, slavery would have ended sooner. I don't think you could possibly know that.
Like they might have let it roll in the Americas because it was making them so much money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they would just colonize.
Or because they feared some kind of revolt, right? Because the southern states seceded and revolted. So I have no reason to believe that the British government wouldn't have the foresight to say, oh, that will probably happen or could happen.
I think
so. To me, it's not something you could possibly.
I love
know.
my English homies, man, but the British government terrifies me. A monarchy in today's age.
Our government scares me a lot more.
But I mean, you see Britain, like the Commonwealth is struggling. Canada and Australia
and New Zealand
are getting messed up right now by authority. And then they got the God King at the top. Like, it's crazy.
Yeah, but it's not like the Crown actually does anything.
Yeah,
anymore.
it's a ceremonial.
It's all behind it. They own land, is what they do.
Yeah.
They basically control everything through ownership.
We have that in the United States
we sure
too, bro.
do, yeah.
Kind of, but you can
how
have.
it's
There's a lot of private
Trinity
property
Church,
in the US.
Trinity in like New York, one of the largest landowners.
No, I didn't know that.
Church.
Bureau of Land Management is
The Vatican.
in China.
Yeah, they own a lot of land. Yeah, that's how you do it, I guess. You own the land like Ray Kroc. You know,
They're like, we're not doing anything. We just own the land. You're like, yeah, come on.
own the land under the McDonald's.
That's an active process to own land.
Yeah.
Will
we? Yeah, I wonder what the future holds for us.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
Probably
interesting.
living till we're 700 and like real healthy and stuff.
Live till 700
Yeah,
and be real
genetic
healthy.
therapy,
Well,
yeah.
once you get the 5,000th jab, you might make it.
Yeah, you're gonna make it.
5,000. Well,
You said-
look. To be fair, they've been saying since the beginning they were expecting to be like a yearly thing.
Yeah.
Like a flu shot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've said that they think this is going to be like a seasonal flu.
The issue is they didn't force me to get the flu shot.
Yeah,
You know,
Exactly.
like you walk into Walgreens
Exactly.
and they're like, "Would you like to?" And it's like, "Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't
Yeah.
know." Yeah. I went to the doctor once. I told the story like, you know, he gave me like 4 or 5 shots or whatever.
Ugh.
Yeah, all at once.
I knew
There's an
people that
entirely different culture around it. People don't shame you for not getting the flu
Yeah, well,
shot.
I know people that would get the flu shot and then get the flu because their immune systems would be so beat up by the shot that then they wouldn't be eating healthy and then they'd end up getting sick anyway. I'm like, what's the point?
The problem with the flu shot is that we develop it in conjunction with Australia because their flu season is ahead of ours. Sometimes they have a different strain of the flu than we have. So by the time the flu shot comes here and we're using it, we're like, oh, this will work for our strain, right? Sometimes not. Like there was one year I remember at the hospital, they gave us all the shot. It was great. It was wonderful. Tons of people still got the flu. It was something like 30% effective because the Australian strain just wasn't very much like the American strain.
I remember reading a while ago. This was before COVID. This is before anyone was really talking about this. Before there was any, seeming controversy over vaccines, as far as I could tell. But I remember reading that flu vaccines were becoming less effective on a yearly basis, and it was a serious problem that had to be dealt with. I haven't heard any. I think the discourse surrounding vaccines has clearly moved on to other issues, if that is the case. But
It's becoming
years ago.
the challenge is, I think one of the reasons you see these stories where people think the vaccine is more dangerous is because of the authoritarianism of the media and the left, the overstate, the cathedral, whatever you want to call it.
Is it when the people who always lie to you tell you something's good, you're not going to believe them.
And they've discredited themselves over the past few years. Like Russiagate is you know what? For everybody who's listening, if you ever get somebody who's like, oh, you believe that stuff, be like, Russia.
Yeah.
Sorry, like you lost all credibility when the
Seriously.
New York Times, the Washington Post, and CNN and all these MSNBC were screaming Russia for years, and it was all bunk. You lost me, dude. Sorry.
And also, like, there is precedent for them lying and moving the goalpost about this as well, this very situation. 2 weeks to slow the spread. Oh, the idea is we just want people locked down so that the hospitals don't get overwhelmed with new patients, and
then everyone
as soon
forgot
as
about
that's
that.
the case, yeah, everyone forgot about
That's
that. It was
weird.
2 weeks to slow the spread, and the whole point was we didn't
15,
want
15 days.
15 days. I'm sorry.
more day
So
than
a
2
day
weeks.
over 2 weeks to slow the spread because we didn't want hospitals to get overwhelmed. And what happened?
They didn't get overwhelmed.
Exactly. But did we stop at 2 weeks?
Unfortunately,
no. So
not
we've already
yet.
been lied to about this, and the narrative has changed. Even if you don't want to say we were lied to, the narrative clearly changed.
Yeah.
The goalpost has moved. So people have no reason to believe it's not going to move if they go and get the vaccine or do whatever else they're being told to do.
This is
The idea that these people would scold you and talk down to you for not taking their word for it after they've repeatedly misrepresented what the future would be if we were to take their word for it is ridiculous. The lack of self-awareness is astounding, even for them.
This is why I always say, talk to your
The
doctor.
droplets.
Yeah,
Talk to
We're
your
any-
droplets.
The droplets.
You don't lose
Talk to
heat.
your
I
lawyer.
say because listen,
Talk to your droplets.
I
Is that what you
don't care the politics. There are people who make money off of shock content. Be it somebody who is like in a hospital bed going, "I wish I got the vaccine," or somebody being like, "My legs don't work." It's like the people are going to find the stories that get the clicks, and that's why you need to find someone you trust who's done the research. And there are people who tell me that they don't trust their doctors. I'm like, then you need a good doctor, dude.
Yeah.
You know?
Lots of doctors. It's okay to travel from doctor to doctor. They call them second opinions.
Get a second
but
opinion,
This
exactly.
is the age of like multiple opinions. Get lots and lots of doctors' opinions.
Well,
Yes.
just make sure that you trust they've done their research, that they're qualified, because it's insane to me that anyone would think that I'm implying you go to a quack doctor in an alley. I'm like, no, I'm saying you go to someone and you ask them questions, say, here's what I saw, what do you think? And here's what I said earlier, like if you see a story, show them.
Yeah.
See what they think.
Yeah, and
These are the questions you gotta ask.
exactly. Because if there's nothing to it, then your doctor should generally be able to explain to you, well, sometimes these things happen or whatever it is. But the statistics I've seen in my research shows that it is safe if it is right. So
Let me add. The doctor I had in my neighborhood, we knew our doctor.
yes, that's huge. I was about to bring that up actually. It's
Shout
not just
out to
talking
Dr.
to your
Murphy if
doctor,
you're out
and
there.
it's not just talking to a doctor who you've known or not have had because maybe you don't have a doctor who you go to primarily. It is really helpful to just have friends who are doctors, or like a wife who's a doctor, folks. But,
Oh, yeah.
But if you have friends who are doctors who you genuinely trust, who you aren't necessarily seeing,
That you're
you
gonna
can
talk
still
to
talk
about these issues.
with about this stuff.
Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.